Hello, everybody. Leo Babauta from Zen Habits here, and today I'm going to talk about fat loss. In fact, the optimal way to lose fat, lose body fat. And this is not just my own experience, but it is my experience, but it's also science-based, evidence-backed methods. And it's actually a pretty simple method. And when I say simple, I don't mean easy. Simple, but not so easy. That said, I'm going to give you some tips for how to actually hit this method, hit the goals of this method so that you can lose body fat. Before I get into the actual method, I'm going to talk about why, to do this, but also like who is this guide for and who is it not for, with some important warnings. Before we get into the actual guide, let's look at the warnings. So who is this for? This is for people who would like to lose some body fat. And when I say body fat, I don't mean weight, although weight is often the way we talk about it. But what we don't want to do is lose muscle so much, and we want to lose more of the body fat rather than muscle. And so we're talking about how to lose body fat rather than how to lose weight. Because focus on weight doesn't really distinguish between these two kinds of components of our bodies. So we have, we have like water, and we have muscle, and we have bones, and we have like sinews and organs and all of that kind of stuff. And that what we call lean body mass. And then we have fat, body fat, which would be kind of the other component. And so this is for anyone who would like to lose body fat and who can do so without getting too entangled in body image issues, in eating disorders, or any kinds of things like that. So if this is a simple kind of mechanical, tactical kind of thing for you, then that's what this video is for. Who this is not for are people who have eating disorders, who are prone to like really strong levels of body dysmorphia, which is like, like having these bad body image issues that are like maybe seeing yourself as worse than you actually are. So that was actually me for a long time. So I didn't necessarily have an eating disorder per se, but I did have disordered eating, where I was eating in ways that were not healthy for me mentally and emotionally. And then I also had body dysmorphia, body image issues, where I like thought I always looked worse than I actually was. This has taken me years to overcome. If that is you, and there's a lot of people like that, and this is not any judgment. There isn't anything wrong with you, but it's just something that is a tendency of yours at this point in your life. If that is you, then I don't think it's that healthy to focus on losing weight or body fat. In fact, I think it's more important to heal your relationship to your body, to your image of yourself, and to eating and food. And to do that, I highly recommend therapy. So I think therapy is a very positive mental health step that a lot of us can take for a lot of different things. Disordered eating, body dysmorphia, body image issues would be one thing like that. And so heal your relationship to your body and to food and to eating. And then come back to this video when you're ready, because this video is more tactical rather than actually addressing cultural issues around bodies and eating, fat. This is not about fat shaming. This is not about any of that kind of thing. But that said, that is the reality for a lot of us, is that is the context that we're in, is that there's a lot of fat shaming, a lot of media images that we should look a certain way. There's a lot of things around being overweight, shame around it, and then we internalize all of that shame and those kinds of messages. So if that's what you're facing, which there's a large number of people who will be facing that, I don't recommend this video for you. This is more if you're ready for some tactical approaches. Okay, so if assuming that this is a simple, like I need to change some habits, have a right approach, and then actually lose some body fat, then this video is for you. Next is why. So there's a lot of reasons why to lose weight or lose body fat. I'm going to talk about some of my reasons and then talk about what I think is important. And if you're tempted to skip over the why, I encourage you to not do that, because the why is actually really important at anything where we're going to be facing fear, resistance, difficulty, challenge. We want to have an understanding of what is our why. So I encourage you to think about what your why is. Why are you watching this video? Why do you want to keep going with this? Um, and so for me, I lost weight, years ago, and a lot of it was just I felt I was really unhealthy and I was stuck in life, and I felt like I was killing myself with cigarettes and with food and lack of exercise. So I felt like that, and I also was modeling something for my family, my kids, and I wanted to model something healthier for them, which I think I'm really proud of myself. I succeeded at that. It took me a while to change my diet and to change my exercise habits, but I did that and I lost weight and I lived a healthier life from then on. I have some new reasons why I've been doing it more recently and why this is on my mind, because I'm actually undergoing a little bit of a fat loss phase for myself. I gained a little bit of weight back, not a lot, but some in during COVID. I lost some after COVID, after the pandemic, the main part of that was over. Um, I probably gained about 20 pounds and I lost about 10. And then I've kind of stayed in a little zone um, between getting back to what I think is like an optimal weight for me, and and about 10 pounds over that. So I've been kind of going back and forth in that area. So that's one thing. But then I recently was diagnosed with really just low borderline pre-diabetes. So if you're at the very bottom between normal and pre-diabetes, that's where my test came in a couple of months ago. And so I'm like, okay, I'm already eating pretty healthy. I'm already exercising a lot. I'm not smoking. I'm not overweight. What can I actually change? And one thing I said was, well, I can tweak my diet a little bit and I can lose some body fat. And it's actually been shown that losing some body fat actually does help with diabetes and prediabetes and a number of other health issues as well. And so I'm getting myself to a weight that I think is more ideal for me long term when it comes to that. And actually, I've already gotten myself back to the normal range, and so I'm no longer pre-diabetic, which is great. Um, in addition, I think it's just a healthy way to live as I go into more of my 50s and 60s and 70s. I'm 51 now. And I like to live in a fairly, lightweight lifestyle where I can move around without carrying around too much extra weight, because it does weigh on your metabolism, on your health, and also just your bones and your tendons. So I'm like, for example, I want to run a half marathon this year. Running that with extra weight actually is harder on my tendons and bones. And so running with less weight actually really helps with exercise and some other things I like to do, like handstands and muscle ups and other fun body weight exercises. It helps to be a little bit lighter. And so, eventually I like to get back into rock climbing. It helps to not carry around a lot of extra weight there. So for the lifestyle and the health span that I'm looking to live well into my older years, into my 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, I think it would be helpful to be a little bit leaner. I don't need to have like six pack abs and be like, fitness model kind of lean, but this is just about like what's healthy for my body and my genetics, because my genetics tend to at the same body fat level as other people and the same weight as other people, um, kind of be predisposed towards diabetes. That's my dad was diabetic. He died of diabetes. My grandpa, my mom's side was diabetic. I'm Pacific Islander partly. And all of that adds up to me having a tendency towards diabetes and heart disease as well. And so this is what I think is healthy for me. So these are my reasons. You might have different ones, but they might be things around what's the lifestyle I'd like to live? What do I want to model for my kids? You know, what is going to help me be healthy for the long run? What's going to help me with my sports goals or other kinds of fitness goals? You know, these kinds of things. So I encourage you to look for the reasons that go beyond the surface level, beyond like, I'd like to look good. Now, looking good, I think, is not a bad idea. You know, feeling good about how you look and how your body feels is a good thing. So these are nice things to have, but I think that there needs to be something more than that. And we don't want to get too caught up in how we look and like our body image. I think that gets a little bit too, it's a bit of a quicksand trap. So find another reason beyond that, including that maybe you want to look good and feel good about yourself, but also beyond that. Okay, so that's the why. So I encourage you to check in. What is your why? Write it down. Come back to that regularly. So let's go to tactics. So there's really two areas. These are not going to be a huge surprise to everybody, but one is eating, which I would say is the biggest area, but the other one is not unimportant. The other one is, of course, exercise. Um, and so we're going to talk about eating first and then exercise. So eating first of all, we need to be in a caloric deficit. So we need to figure out what is our maintenance level of calories, and then we want to be below that at a certain level. Now, how do we figure that out? So that's the first one, and the second one is going to be protein and fiber. So how do we figure out the first thing, which is calorie level? So we need to figure out what is our maintenance level of calorie. And the thing is, there's actually no easy way to figure that out. You can go into an online calculator and look for, just do a Google search for BMR calculator, and then calculate based on your height, your gender, your weight, and your activity level, what is your maintenance level of calories? So let's say it was 2,000, 500, right? It could be 3,000, it could be more, who knows? But let's just say it's 2,500 is your maintenance. What that means is at that level, if you ate 2,500 calories every single day, your weight would stay the same. And of course, what we're looking for is to actually be in a deficit so that we can actually lose that body fat. We'll talk about how to actually prioritize loss of fat rather than muscle soon. But first, the first important thing is we need to be in a deficit. So how do we figure it out? We do a calculator. Now that's going to give you an estimate. Let's just say it says 2,500 calories. We're just going to use that as an example. Now what we want to be at is somewhere between 250 calories below that to 500. You could go to 750 if you want to be aggressive, but I highly encourage you to start with 250 to 500 to start with. And once you get going with that, if you feel like, oh, you know what, actually I can get a little more aggressive, go to the 750. But shoot for somewhere between 250 and 500 below your estimated maintenance level. So let's say estimated maintenance level is 2,500. I'm going to shoot for 2,250. That's 250 calories below my maintenance. Or maybe I'm shooting for 2,000. So somewhere in that range. So here's what we're going to do to make sure that this is not just an estimate, but the actual amount. What we're going to do is, let's say you said, I'm going to do 500 below, so 2,000, right? So maintenance is 2,500, 2,000 is 500 below. Shoot to hit that every day for a couple of weeks. And of course, you're not going to be exact, but try and hit that for a couple of weeks and see actually how that goes. Now, at that rate, you should lose, after 2 weeks, you should lose 2 pounds. Now, if you only lost 1 pound, what that means is either you're not tracking it right, or 2,500 is not your actual amount. Maybe it's 2,250. And so what I want you to do is go for, let's say, 500 below, and then do that for 2 weeks. See if you lost 2 pounds. If you lost less than 2 pounds, drop the level down by another 100 calories. So 1,900 now. Do that for a couple of weeks. See if that hits the 2 pounds. If that doesn't work, drop it another 100 calories. And what happens is at some point you will figure out what you need to do to lose 1 pound a week. I think that's a good level for most people. How much do I need to, after weighing myself regularly, let's say every week, what's the calorie level that's going to get me to about a pound a week of weight loss? So track your weight, track your calories. That is how you're going to get to your actual um, expenditure level. So if you're actually losing a pound a week at 2,000, that means that your actual maintenance is actually 2,500, 500 above that. So wherever you land, that gets you a pound a week on average is going to be 500 below your maintenance level. Now you've actually figured it out. And that will actually change over time as you lose weight or body fat. Your maintenance level actually will drop a little bit over time. So keep tracking this. Track your calories, track your weight. I I think a weekly weigh-in is good. You can weigh in more than that and just kind of track it over time because weight fluctuates on a day-to-day level. On a day-to-day basis, we fluctuate because of like how much salt we ate the day before. If I ate a bunch of salt and I'm going to retain some water and I'm going to retain weight, I might actually gain weight even though my body fat level is going down. So what we want to do is look at that over time. Is it trending downward? Not on a day-to-day level, but on a week-to-week to week-to-week level. And so weighing once a week is good. If you want to get a little bit more data into it, track it, daily, every other day, something like that, so that you can see like, oh, actually, it's not, this day I actually went up a little bit, but most days I'm actually going down. Okay, so that gets us to caloric expenditure level. It's probably the most important thing you can do to actually lose body fat. So track your calories, and you can use, there's a number of good apps on that. Chronometer is free. MyFitnessPal is another one. There's an app that does this for you, but all of this for you, but it has a monthly subscription of like $11 or $12 a month, which is called Macro Factor. So if you want to use Macro Factor, it will actually calculate your expenditure level. If you're using it to track your calories and weight. If you do those two things, Macro Factor will actually, and I'm not sponsored by them, Macro Factor will actually calculate all of this for you, but you can do it yourself. Just figure out what do I need, what calorie level do I need to do to hit an average of a pound a week. So track your calories, use an app, track your weight. Okay, that's the most important thing. Second most important thing in terms of diet is protein. Now, the reason why is if you have a decent level of protein intake, your body will maintain the muscle mass better. And there's been a lot of studies on this. We don't need a crazy, like if you're having like 200 plus grams of protein a day, it's probably like too much. Some people go for like 250, 300, 400 grams of protein a day. I think it's excessive. So what I want you to do is to look at what is your body weight right now, and shoot for somewhere between 0.8, somewhere between 0.5 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So let's say I'm 180 pounds as a man. If I'm going for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, that would be 180 grams of protein that I need to take in. Now that actually is a bit high. I think 0.8 is actually a better upper number to shoot for. So 0.8, I can't think of it right now, but multiply 180 times 0.8, that is going to be 154. So that actually is a good number. 0.8 is actually the number I would shoot for, and that is actually the number that I personally shoot for. But you could if you want to be aggressive, go ahead and go to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Now, you could go as low as zero point 0.5, but I think somewhere between zero point 0.6 and zero point 0.8 is actually what the optimal level to shoot for. So shoot for something like that. So somewhere between, for the 180-pound person, let's say it's between 128 grams of protein to 154. That's 0.6 to 0.8. That's what we're shooting for. And so again, if you had 2,000 calories a day and out of that is 154 grams of protein, that's going to, multiply 154 by 4. You're going to have 616 of those 2,000 calories are going to be protein. So 616 is protein. The rest is carbs and fat. Now, I don't actually care what you prioritize for the rest of it. The main thing is, am I hitting the 2,000 calories or whatever level you're shooting for? And am I hitting the 154 grams of protein? All of the apps that I mentioned track protein and calories. They also do fat and carbs. I don't actually think it's that important what your fat and carbs are. It's the protein and the calories. Okay, last thing about diet is fiber. So fiber is important for our long-term health. A lot of people will forget about that as they go on these lower levels of calorie. They'll throw out fiber, and I think that's a big mistake. Fiber is really important for our long-term health, but also it helps us to actually feel full. So fiber is in things like fruits and vegetables, for example, whole grains, nuts, beans. I actually think the best things for a fat loss diet are protein, but also vegetables. Some fruits, don't overdo the fruits, but some fruits, I love berries, for example. And I think berries fits in really well in a fat loss diet. And then some nuts and some beans. If you do those, you will be really healthy, get a lot of nutrients. All of your nutrients will be coming in. And it's actually a pretty full plate. So for example, these days I'm eating tofu with some broccoli and kale, like steamed broccoli and kale. Huge bowl of steamed broccoli and kale with some tofu, a little bit of avocado, a little bit of hummus. I put some sriracha and other spices on there. Delicious bowl of tons of fiber, a little bit of fat, and some protein. And I love it, and I feel full afterward. So that would be my recommendation in terms of diet: is lots of fiber, a pretty decent amount of protein, and a caloric deficit. Okay, that is probably 80% of fat loss is what I just talked about there. Now let's go to exercise. Exercise, some people overdo exercise and some people underdo it. And I'm going to give you just two important things. The most important thing is do some kind of resistance training. So resistance training could be dumbbells, it could be barbells, it could be bands, it could be push-ups, body weight type exercises. What else are there? There's other kinds of, kettlebells, anything that is heavy. It doesn't have to be that heavy, but some kind of heaviness that is actually challenging your muscles to grow. So if you are on a caloric deficit with an adequate amount of protein and you're doing resistance training, you will retain the muscle and lose fat. That is pure science and math. You will retain muscle and lose fat. It has been proven over and over again. It works for me. Caloric deficit, decent amount of protein, and resistance training. That's all it takes, those three things. So if you're new to resistance training, do some push-ups and some body weight squats or lunges. Do that every other day. You can do some chin-ups if you can, or something like that. But push-ups are good. Body weight squats, and you can Google, YouTube the best ways to do all of those things. Lunges is another really good one. Once you've been doing that for a while, you want to add a little bit of weight to that. And so you might start doing some dumbbell training, some barbell training. If you're someone who's already been training for a while, What I want you to focus on is progressive overload. So if you've been doing barbell or dumbbell training for a while, great. Just slowly progress every single workout in some way. Either add an extra rep each workout, add a little bit of weight each workout, add an extra set sometimes. But you want to be progressing and still challenging your muscles, even though you're losing fat and you're on a caloric deficit. Add in extra. And if you're doing the body weight stuff, great. Just add extra reps in. So if you can do 5 push-ups today, 2 days from now, do 6 push-ups. Let's say 3 sets of 5 for that, 3 sets of 10 for squats. That's your whole workout. Then the next time do 5, 5, and then 6 for push-ups. So first set is 5, second set is 5, third set is 6, or swap that if you want, 6, 5, 5, and then again 11, 10, 10 for the body weight squats. So continue to progress over the course of each week. Same thing if you're doing weights. Continue to progress. Now your progression, if you're actually used to using weights, your progression is not going to be as fast as if you were in a caloric surplus. If you're taking in extra calories, you will be growing muscle. But if you're in progressive overload, and you'll be able to progress faster. Now, if you are in a caloric deficit, you actually won't be able to progress very long. And at some point, you might not be able to progress at all. And if that's true, take a deload week. That means go down in weight or reps or sets or something like that after a while for like a week or two. But then go back. Okay, so if you are doing resistance training, let's say 3 times a week, you are going to retain that muscle mass, especially if you're doing a little bit of a slight progressive overload. That means adding extra weight, reps, or sets slowly over time. That said, it can really help to stay in a caloric deficit if you are actually doing some kinds of other activities. So playing sports, going out for walks, going for runs, biking, yoga, anything, go for hikes, go rucking with a weighted backpack. Whatever you can do to move around, it really does help. You're burning some extra calories, you're staying active, your body is feeling healthy. It's better than being sedentary. So I actually recommend that you move every day unless your body is really, really tired. If your body is tired and sore, take a rest day or 2. But otherwise, if you feel pretty good, be moving every day in some way. Resistance training on some days, on other days I get on the, stationary bike, and others I go out for a walk. You can even do 2 exercises in a day, resistance training and go for a walk. The next day, go for a run and do a little bit of yoga, and then repeat over and over again. So activity is really good, but it's probably less important than the other stuff that I've already mentioned. Okay, any other tips? Don't worry about getting this perfect. Do this slowly over time. In fact, if you're like, I want to just try and do maintenance for a while because I've been gaining weight, maintenance level of calories until you find out like what it actually is. You're like, actually 2,400 is my maintenance calories. Great. If you want to slowly add fiber to your diet, I don't recommend shooting your fiber up really fast. Just slowly add some vegetables to your plate, a little bit of fruits as your snacks, a little bit of nuts, add some beans into some dishes. Slowly over time, you want to be adding in fiber. Great. If you want to up your protein intake, and you want to shoot for 154, but you're right now at 60, go ahead and increase that slowly over time. You don't want to go too quick. Same thing with resistance training. You're going to get sore if you haven't been doing resistance training for a while. So ease into it. Let yourself do this slowly. Track it, your weight, take pictures of yourself. I highly recommend you take a picture in the beginning with your in your underwear, in a mirror. Don't show that to anybody, but have pictures over time, and you'll see in the mirror, you'll see some difference. You can also do a waist measurement and have that tracked over time. You track your calories, track your protein, track your weights, and with that, you will inevitably be losing fat. Last thing I'm going to say is do about a 8 to 10 week fat loss phase, and then give yourself a little bit of a break. Let's say a 2 week maintenance phase where you go back to maintenance level and let yourself have a break. And then if you have more fat to lose, go ahead and go back and do it for another, 8 weeks or so. But you want to give yourself a mental break. Your body also could use a little bit of a break. If you're at a, not a very high level of fat and you want to build muscle and fat, do an 8 to 10 week fat loss, a week or two of maintenance, and then go into a slight caloric surplus to do a bulk, which would be, let's say, 250 to 500 calories surplus above your maintenance, and then make sure you're actually lifting weights and progressive overload. And you will gain some muscle and do that for, again, 8 to 10 weeks, and you can actually continue to cycle that way. So that's long-term plans, but I don't recommend going beyond 10 weeks of fat loss because it is just mentally draining. It is not a good idea mentally for you. So at least take a couple of weeks of maintenance break if you want to go beyond that. Okay, that's what I've got for you. I hope this has helped. If you have questions, feel free to post them in the comments. Let me know what works for you. As you notice, I didn't recommend any specific diet. I'm a vegan. I eat whole foods as much as possible. I eat lots of protein and fiber, but you don't have to be vegan. You can do keto, you can do intermittent fasting, you can do, Mediterranean diet, the DASH diet. It doesn't matter. If you're hitting the things that I'm talking about, this will get you to where we're going. And it doesn't really matter if you like to eat steak or chicken or fish or tofu. Eat what you need to eat. I like lentils. I like tempeh. I like seitan. I like tofu. Lately it's been a lot of tofu, but before that it was lentils. I like black beans, garbanzo beans. All these kinds of things are great for protein. And then I eat tons of greens, tons of other vegetables as well. Okay, my friends, please like this video if it was helpful to you. It helps the algorithm for others to find it. Comment below if there's anything that you would like to see me write about or record videos on in the future. And then share this channel with people. Subscribe and share it with others so that they can get some Zen habits in their lives. Bye, my friends.